Hey guys, tonight we're peeling back the fluorescent-lit curtain on one of the strangest office scandals you'll ever hear. You're new here, still learning the coffee machine's quirks and where the paper clips go, when something slips through the cracks. And no, it's not your dignity during your first team meeting. It's a secret, a real one, the kind people fake legal documents for. It starts on a Tuesday night. You're the last intern in the office, cleaning up after that endless finance meeting. When you hear it, voices in the break room, low, urgent. You pause, just outside the doorway. You weren't meant to hear this. I told you he doesn't know. That's why I need the papers dated back. If he finds out before Q4's done, I lose everything. You freeze, heart thumping like it's also on deadline. The voice is familiar. It's her. Senior manager. Sharp suits. Sharper tongue. And just then you hear a name. His name. Your boss. You slip away quietly, pretending you forgot your water bottle. Classic. Your water bottle, by the way, is still in the fridge, trapped under someone's half-eaten salad and a truly suspicious yogurt. The next morning, the sun streams in like nothing ever happened. The keyboards click, the printer jams. Someone complains about the AC again. You almost forget what you heard. Almost. Until you see her. The same woman. Polished. In control. But there's a flicker. When your boss walks by, she doesn't look up. She flinches. Just slightly. Enough to make you wonder. You Google things you shouldn't. Office scandals. Fake divorces. Can HR tell if you're lying about your emergency contact? You learn two things. 1. Crocodile dung was once used as birth control in ancient Egypt. 2. You really shouldn't Google anything on the office Wi-Fi. By Thursday, you start noticing things. Her coffee order always appears 10 minutes after his. A matching keychain on both their lanyards. Historians still argue whether Napoleon truly divorced Josephine out of political ambition or genuine heartbreak. But in this case, the motivations are far murkier. There's a hierarchy in every office. You know it. The loud guy in sales? Beneath the surface, he's scared of her. She's not loud. She's precise. Efficient. The kind of woman who makes folders color-coded by tone. Not shade. Who ends meetings 5 minutes early just to watch people panic. And yet, you notice how he hovers by her desk. How she avoids his gaze when she thinks no one's watching. It's not romance. It's fear wrapped in formality. One evening, you drop your keycard walking out. When you bend down to pick it up, you catch her reflection in the glass. She's alone in the meeting room, clutching her phone, whispering something to a contact labeled only L. A minute later, she deletes the call log. That night, your dreams are bizarre. You're trapped in a never-ending meeting where everyone speaks in legal jargon, and the only way out is submitting an expense report for a child that doesn't exist. You wake up sweating. At work, nobody speaks of her personal life. No framed photos. No idle chat about the baby. But you've heard it. That one whispered moment in the break room. And now it's lodged in your brain like gum under a desk. You watch her. You watch him. You wonder if everyone else knows and pretends not to. The office, after all, is built on secrets. Like how the copier tracks what you scan, or how Karen from accounting is probably running a side hustle selling toner online. You can't prove it, but you feel it. Friday comes. Everyone's in casuals. You spill coffee on yourself at 9:03 a.m. and pretend it's abstract fashion. She walks by you twice. No eye contact. But then, just before lunch, she drops a file near your desk. Accidentally, inside is a document. It's a printout of a scanned divorce certificate. Your eyes flicker over the details. Date filed, June 5th. You remember something else, an old Slack message. She posted photos from a family beach trip on June 7th. The husband was still in the frame, smiling. Maybe people don't just go from "we're fine" to "we never spoke again" in 48 hours. You hand her the folder back. She barely nods. But later, as you're clocking out, she catches your arm. "Some things are cleaner on paper," she says. You nod. You have no idea what that means. Then she adds, "Don't believe everything in a file," and walks away. Just like that, you're in. Not invited, but implicated. Because the moment someone lets you see almost enough truth, they trap you with the rest of it. In medieval Europe, whispering secrets to tapestries was a real thing. Royals would talk to the walls, hoping they wouldn't echo. You whisper to the supply closet, and pray the toner doesn't judge you. You're not sure what game she's playing. But one thing's clear. She's not trying to escape. She's building a version of reality just neat enough to file, just false enough to survive. And somewhere under all of it is a child. Unseen, unnamed, but very, very real. You tell yourself it's none of your business. You're just the intern. Not even the kind that gets invited to the team lunches, just the kind that gets asked to pick up extra forks when the Thai delivery arrives short. But your brain doesn't let go. Not after what you heard. Not after the folder with the suspicious divorce date. And certainly not after the way she said, "Some things are cleaner on paper." You start noticing your boss more, your actual manager, the one everyone likes. The one with the perfectly pressed shirts and the reputation for being disarmingly chill. But when she's around, his posture changes. Less relaxed. His voice lowers. There's a kind of tension between them that doesn't come from weekly performance reviews. One morning, you're passing the conference room just as they exit. Their eyes don't meet, but their shoulders almost brush. She walks ahead. He pauses to adjust his cufflinks, an unnecessary stall. You think, they're acting like strangers who used to be something else. Like ex-lovers in a movie, just without the soundtrack swelling in the background. By lunch, you're spiraling. What is the story here? Office romance? Illegitimate child? Maybe a blackmail subplot if you're lucky. You Google again on your phone this time. How to tell if two coworkers are secretly in love. It's mostly advice columns written by people who clearly never met your manager. Still, one detail jumps out. If one party always mirrors the other's speech pattern or phrase, "Hey guys, tonight we're peeling back the fluorescent lit curtain on one of the strangest office scandals you'll ever hear." Choice. They're either smitten or in trouble. You think back. He says absolutely a lot. So does she. They both hate the term ASAP and use by end of day like a safe word. Over the next week, you start keeping track. Mentally, not in a spreadsheet. Though you could. She arrives between 8:13 and 8:17 daily. He's always in the building 5 minutes before. She never parks near the building. Always across the lot. Far from his car. Neither one ever uses the kitchen between 11:45 and 12:15. A time slot you now call the buffer zone. This, you realize, is not flirtation. This is avoidance by choreography. A mainstream historical fact flashes through your mind. Henry VIII's court was infamous for its silent codes. Lovers could communicate entire arguments through handkerchief placement and bow depth. This feels like that. A performance. Just for you. Or rather, just for everyone else. You begin to suspect you're not the only one noticing. During a casual conversation in the printer queue, Julie from marketing makes a comment. "I swear, those two have some weird power dynamic. It's like watching a Jane Austen scene in a fluorescent fishbowl." You laugh a bit too loudly. Julie eyes you. "What? You don't see it." You mutter something about toner and pretend the printer jammed again. That night, you can't sleep. Your ceiling fan ticks in an irritating rhythm, and you find yourself thinking about her face when she talks to HR. Not tense, but rehearsed. As if every word is calculated, every emotion rationed. Then it clicks. She's not hiding a mistake. She's hiding a choice. You remember a conversation from orientation, when the HR director, smiling far too hard, said, "We encourage openness here, as long as it aligns with compliance and doesn't impact productivity." Translation. Hide whatever you want as long as you're good at your job. Historians still argue whether Cleopatra's legendary romances were strategic or emotional. With this woman, you don't have to wonder. Strategy is written all over her posture, her pauses, her filtered Slack messages that never go beyond one emoji. On Thursday, you're sent to deliver a presentation packet to the boardroom. Nothing special until you spot his phone on the table, face up, unlocked. A risk even for the brave. A text flashes across the screen before you can look away. She's still not talking. "I think she's waiting for me to mess up first." You leave the folder and pretend you didn't see it. But your hands are shaking. In the hallway, you pass her. She's holding a coffee she hasn't sipped. She looks tired in a way caffeine can't fix. You wonder, does she know you know? Then she says, "You're good at reading rooms. That's rare." You blink. "Thank you." She doesn't smile, just walks away. You start to feel like you're in a noir film, the kind with smoke-filled rooms and secrets layered under secrets. Except your smoke is from burnt microwave popcorn, and the secrets were business casual. One quirky tidbit you stumble across in your research spiral. In the 19th century, some women faked being widows to claim life insurance and start fresh. They'd vanish, then reappear under new names. You think about that a lot now. The next Monday, she wears a navy blazer you've never seen before. Crisp, buttoned all the way up, like armor. He compliments it. She doesn't reply. Later that day, he drops a file at your desk. "Can you cross-reference these contracts?" You flip through. Routine paperwork. Until the last page. A memo she wrote. Her signature, elegant, distant, signed just 2 days after the supposed divorce was filed. They were still working together. Still locked in this, what? Arrangement? Affair? You're not even sure anymore what you're chasing. But something inside you whispers, keep going. And so you do. It's supposed to be a routine filing errand. You're sent to archive contracts from a now-defunct client, boring work, but the kind that lets you poke around the file room unsupervised. You find it soothing in a weird way, that faint scent of dust and toner, the muffled hum of HVAC, the silence so thick it feels sacred. But today, that stillness is broken by a folder tucked where it doesn't belong. You spot it because it's labeled in a different font. Not Arial, not even Calibri, something serifed and fancy, like someone wanted it to look official, but didn't realize how much it stood out. It's thin, just 2 sheets inside. The first, a divorce certificate. You've already seen something like this before, but this one is different, more polished, stamped, time-stamped, in fact, at 2:44 p.m., on a workday when you're pretty sure both of them were in the office running a team meeting. You know, because you were the one refilling the whiteboard markers halfway through. You check the filing date. June 5th. Again. But something's off. This version lists a different jurisdiction. The address is one she never used on any HR forms. And the signature isn't quite hers. It's close. Too close. Like someone practiced it a few dozen times before putting ink to paper. The second sheet? A typed cover letter. To a law firm you've never heard of. Addressed to Client Liaison, Family Holdings. The text is brief. One sentence stands out. Please destroy the previous draft and retain this version for final processing. You put the papers back exactly as you found them. But for the rest of the day, you can't shake the feeling that you've just handled a forgery. You wonder, why would someone fake the timing of a divorce? Not the event itself, not even the details, just the when. You do some quiet Googling, from your phone this time. You've learned. Turns out, backdating legal documents is illegal almost everywhere. Except, interestingly, in ancient Roman contracts where post-factum amendments were sometimes permitted to preserve appearances. Historians still argue whether that was about justice or just a classy way to lie. And this isn't about legality. It's about optics. A week later, you overhear someone from legal chatting at the coffee machine. And if that document ever goes to court, it's toast. The notary isn't even licensed in state. You pretend to microwave soup while your ears do the heavy lifting. The office starts to feel tighter. Every glance, every whisper seems to pull you deeper into this invisible web. You realize you're no longer just noticing things. You're invested, complicit by curiosity. It gets worse. Later that week, a courier drops off a package. You sign for it, it's addressed to her. But she's not at her desk. So, like any responsible temp, you set it aside. You don't even glance at it. Until she walks in, sees the envelope, and freezes. You've never seen her startled. But this is fear. She snatches the envelope, mutters a quick thanks, and vanishes into the copy room. 5 minutes later, you pass by the recycling bin. The envelope is there, torn in half. Inside, just one thing remains. Printed receipt. For a notary public. Dated the same day as the fake divorce. You don't take it, but you read it. Twice. That night, you try to distract yourself with TV. But everything feels like a clue now. Even the commercials. Do you have secrets you can't keep anymore? One voiceover asks. You yell at the screen. Yes, but they're not mine. There's a term you come across while doom scrolling through a law forum. Plausible deniability. It means you can't be held accountable for something if you technically weren't supposed to know about it. You start wondering, who else here has plausible deniability? You think about the receptionist, who always hands her mail with a smile too wide. The finance guy who stopped sharing jokes with your manager after last quarter. Even HR who seems suddenly allergic to questions. A quirky tidbit sticks with you. In the 1920s, some companies required employees to sign morality clauses. Not just for behavior, but for appearances. If you looked like a scandal, you were a liability. You wonder, what would those contracts say about a fake divorce? By now, you're triple-checking every file you touch. Every timestamp, every signature. You start to notice small patterns, like how certain folders are always misfiled near her documents, or how your boss never, ever signs in when arriving late, even though company policy requires it. One day, while sorting old insurance claims, you find a folder marked with her name, but filed under M. Strange. Inside, a medical benefits form, dated 2 years back. It lists a dependent. Initials, LR. Age, newborn. But she was single then. No dependents on record. No maternity leave filed. You sit with that for a long moment. You put the file back. Then you go for a walk around the block. That night, your dreams return. You're filing folders in a never-ending drawer. Each one leads to another. Behind every sheet is a whisper. And the whispers all say the same thing. He wasn't supposed to know. By morning, you're tired, paranoid, but certain of one thing. This isn't just about hiding a child. It's about building a narrative. Crafting a version of the truth that works on paper, because the truth itself is too dangerous. And you're the one holding the highlighter. You've started doing this thing now, where you walk past her desk just a little more slowly than necessary. You aren't proud of it. But once you've touched the thread of a secret this big, it starts to pull at you. Hard. It's a Tuesday when the envelope arrives. Unmarked. Handwritten. No return address. Just the word Daddy in blue ink, carefully scrawled across the front. You aren't supposed to see it, but the receptionist is out, and mail gets misrouted. Again. It ends up on your rolling cart, tucked between software invoices and someone's lunch reimbursement form. You recognize her name on the label. You should just walk it over. Instead, your thumb catches on the flap. It's already partially open. Inside, a single photo. A child. No more than 2, maybe younger. Grinning wide, cheeks sticky with something sweet. The photo's worn like it's been carried around. Handled a lot. On the back, one line, scrawled. She has your smile. Your breath catches. You glance around, suddenly too aware of how quiet it is. Too still. You slip the photo back into the envelope, set it on her desk like it burns. Later that day, she picks it up. Doesn't flinch. Doesn't blink. She tucks it into her drawer and locks it, all in one practiced motion. You don't ask. She doesn't explain. But now you know. It's real. The child exists, and she's keeping it from him. You start remembering little things. Once, when your boss was talking to legal, he said, "I don't have kids. Not that I know of." He laughed. Everyone else laughed. But she didn't. You remember that now. She'd looked up, barely, then went back to typing. That wasn't apathy. It was containment. You Google concealing paternity in the workplace. That turns out to be a niche rabbit hole. But you learn something. In ancient Sparta, if a child's parentage was unclear, they were assigned to the mother's lineage unless the father publicly claimed them. Historians still argue whether this protected children or allowed fathers to vanish conveniently. This feels like both. You also learn that in modern corporate law, disclosing parentage to HR is optional unless it affects insurance or conflict of interest, which means She could have kept this quiet forever, if not for that envelope. That night, the lights flicker in the office. A storm rolls in, and everyone packs up early. Everyone except her. You linger at your desk, pretending to fix a spreadsheet. She's in the corner office, staring out the window, the envelope in her hand now. You catch a glimpse, just for a moment, of the photo again. And then you see him. Your boss. He walks past her door. Sees her. Sees the envelope. He pauses but doesn't enter. She doesn't look up. He walks on. You're witnessing two people orbiting each other like satellites. Never colliding. Just circling something massive and invisible. A quirky office legend you once heard resurfaces. During the Cold War, Soviet offices planted fake documents in random desks just to see who'd take the bait. Anyone caught reading them? Gone by morning. You think about the photo, the envelope, how it landed in your hands. And then you start to wonder, was that really an accident? Over the next few days, the atmosphere thickens. You start noticing how certain emails come at odd hours. 2:14 a.m., 3:39 a.m. Always between just the two of them. The subject lines are clinical. Review attached. Timeline revision. Status. But the silence in the office grows louder. You ask IT casually, like you're making small talk, how long emails stay on the server. The guy looks at you funny. Why? Did you delete something you shouldn't? You smile. Shrug. Just curious. He leans in. Honestly? If they want to find it, they will. Later that day, you catch him staring at her screen. For too long. Then, quietly, he walks away. You tuck that away. A growing list of watchers. And then, like a twist no one asked for, there's a fire drill. During the shuffle down the stairs, she drops something. You're behind her. You pick it up. A laminated photo badge. Not hers. A child's. Smiling again. Same child. Clipped to a visitor lanyard. Why would she have that? You hand it back. She takes it without a word. Slides it into her jacket pocket like it never happened. Your mind races. Did she bring the child here? Has the kid been in the building? That night, you check the visitor logs. One name stands out. Leah Ryan. Checked in 2 months ago. Escort. Listed as pending. You search staff records. No one named Leah. No parent with a matching last name. Just one entry. And it's redacted. Partially. Initials match the dependent form you saw. You suddenly feel like you're trespassing through a life that someone's tried very, very hard to keep locked. The next morning, your boss shows up wearing a tie you haven't seen before. A gift tie, bright, striped, slightly crooked. Julie from marketing jokes about it. Cute. Daddy vibes. He laughs too hard. She doesn't laugh at all. In fact, she leaves the room. And you realize, she's not faking strength. She's faking distance. That envelope wasn't a threat. It was a reminder. A push. And someone, maybe the sender, wants her secret exposed. But here's the part that chills you. If she's faking a divorce to hide a child, who else is faking something? You tell yourself you're done. You're not a detective, not a whistleblower, not someone who gets pulled into corporate soap operas that somehow involve baby photos and fake divorce certificates. You just needed an internship credit. That's it. But you know you're lying to yourself because by now, you're deep enough in this that walking away would feel like abandoning a half-solved puzzle. Friday arrives and you're supposed to head out early. You even have plans. Not exciting ones, just laundry and maybe some microwave dumplings, but still plans. Instead, you stay. Something tells you to. She's still at her desk after most of the floor has cleared. It's that strange office hush. Computers humming, lights too bright for comfort. The smell of stale coffee and stress in the air. You make yourself look busy by shuffling papers that no one's asked you to touch. Just after 6 p.m., you see him, your manager, walk into the parking lot. You can see the lot from the far conference room window. He's there, standing by his car, pretending to check emails on his phone. Then she appears. Her coat's on, but she's not carrying a bag. Just a plain black folder, held tight against her chest. She walks straight toward him. You duck back from the window, heart racing, but peek just enough to watch the conversation unfold. It's heated. Not wild, not theatrical, but charged. He gestures. She shakes her head. She reaches for his arm. He pulls away. She steps back. And then he holds out his hand. She presses the folder into it. He doesn't open it. She turns, walks off. Doesn't look back. You've watched this exact scene before. In movies, when someone hands over evidence, a confession, or a goodbye. Back at your desk, you open a blank document, type one sentence, and delete it. You don't know what to do with what you saw. You just know something shifted. Later that night, the building feels ghostly. You stay longer than you mean to, waiting, what for, you're not sure. But when you finally leave, you spot her car. Still there. You pause, turn back. And through the lobby glass, you see her. She's not crying. She's not on the phone. She's just sitting. Still. Like she's run out of momentum. You don't sleep well. Again. Your dreams blur faces, her, him, the child, into a looping, silent film where everything's black and white, and the only color is a single blue envelope, fluttering in slow motion. By Monday, everything's back to normal. As in, convincingly artificial. You make a joke to Julie about working late Friday. She raises an eyebrow. Ha! I thought everyone left early. It was so dead by 6. I figured the building locked itself. That's the thing about secrets. They're rarely protected by walls. They're protected by assumptions. A mainstream historical fact crosses your mind. When Nixon resigned in 1974, his staff destroyed thousands of memos. But the Watergate scandal wasn't cracked open by documents. It was opened by someone noticing who wasn't in a meeting. You start noticing who's missing more than who's present. He doesn't make eye contact with her anymore. She doesn't reply to his emails with words. Just timestamps. Received. Forwarded. Reviewed. Cold. Professional. But deliberate. Like they're building a trail in case someone audits this. You also notice the black folder is gone from her desk. Then there's the security footage. You wouldn't have seen it. Shouldn't have, really. But IT guy, the one who knows too much, invites you to lunch. And he shows you something. Caught this on a maintenance loop, he says, as if showing you a squirrel in the ductwork. It's footage from the previous Friday. The lobby. Around 6:45 p.m. She's pacing. She checks her phone. She opens the folder. Pulls something out. Looks at it for a long time. It's a sonogram. You gasp. Too loud. IT guy smirks. Kinda wild, right? You play it again. Watch as she tucks it back in and smooths her jacket. You ask, carefully, do you still have this clip? He shrugs. Depends what it's worth. You don't respond. But you make a mental note. He's dangerous in the way quiet people with access can be. That night, you write a timeline. For yourself. You list everything. The fake divorce. The dependent form. The envelope. The sonogram. The black folder. The Friday meeting. The child's name. You start to feel like you're handling something bigger than gossip now. A quirky tidbit you stumble upon while researching stress-induced memory loss. In the 18th century, some noblewomen faked fainting spells to avoid answering difficult questions in court. It wasn't seen as dishonest, just tactical fragility. You wonder if her stillness in the lobby was a version of that. If silence has become her armor. Historians still argue whether Joan of Arc's refusal to confess was faith or strategy. You get why. Because now you're part of it. Whether you meant to be or not. One day, during a meeting, he passes her a document. She opens it, nods once, and signs. No eye contact. Later, you check the recycling bin. The draft is there. It's a parental leave form. Not hers. His. Effective date. Pending confirmation. You sit down, suddenly lightheaded. And you realize he knows now. The question is, what will he do with that knowledge? You arrive at work the next morning thinking maybe, just maybe, the storm has passed. That the folder's been handed over, the leave form signed, and whatever needed to be said in that Friday night parking lot has now dissolved into silence like everything else in this place. Offices are good at burying things under keyboards, after all. But that illusion lasts until exactly 9:47 a.m. You're passing the supply closet when it happens. The raised voices. Not loud enough to draw HR. Not loud enough for confrontation. But loud enough to be heard if someone just happens to linger by the printer. The door is slightly ajar. You hear her first. No, this wasn't the agreement. His voice follows, low and clipped. There was no agreement. You handed me a folder. You didn't tell me what was inside. You just walked away. A beat of silence. Then her voice, sharper. Because if I said it out loud, it would be real. The door creaks as someone else passes in the hallway, and just like that, silence. One of them notices. The conversation vanishes. You shuffle past, holding your breath. They emerge separately. I strayed ahead. You thought things were tense before. Now it feels like the very walls are leaning in, listening. And here's the kicker. Later that day, a new memo circulates from HR. Reminder. All interpersonal relationships within the office must be disclosed if they create a potential conflict of interest. You read it 3 times. So does everyone else. And everyone acts like it's just a standard policy reminder. But it lands like a depth charge. By lunch, the whisper network ignites. Did someone get caught? I bet it's about Darren and payroll girl. Or maybe that weird tension between finance and marketing? No one says their names. Not yet. But you watch her hands shake slightly as she stirs her tea. A tiny, imperceptible tremor. The kind you only catch if you've been looking too long. A mainstream historical fact floats through your head. During the French Revolution, spies were sometimes embedded in bakeries, not for state secrets but for rumors. Bread lines were more revealing than confession booths. Offices aren't so different. The kitchen is where secrets rise. Then something odd happens. The very next day, she stages a fight. Not a real one. Not the emotionally raw, throw a stapler kind. No, this is a performed argument. In full view of half the team. It starts with her misunderstanding a scheduling change. He corrects her. She escalates. I'm not sure why you always assume you're right, she says, loudly enough for 3 departments to hear. He responds flatly, because I follow protocol. Maybe you should try it sometime. Gasps. Julie whispers yikes into her coffee cup. You're frozen, because you've seen how they talk when no one else is around. And this is a stage. Why? Because if people believe they hate each other, no one will suspect what's true. It's actually kind of genius. A quirky little tidbit from your own internet wanderings comes to mind. In the Victorian era, women would stage public feuds to conceal real affairs. The louder the scorn, the deeper the secret, one diary read. Historians still argue whether that was an act of desperation or defiance. This feels like both. The office eats it up. By Friday, the gossip has evolved. They used to be close, but something happened. I heard she challenged him in front of the board. No wonder he's filing for leave. Probably just wants space. You're the only one who knows the truth sits somewhere between all of it. And yet, further away than any of them suspect. It gets deeper. You're asked to help with calendar migration between systems. Basic admin work. But it gives you access to see her archived events. You notice a gap. 3 weeks in February, labeled only consulting offsite. You remember the time vaguely. She was gone, no one asked questions. Her emails were slow. She came back paler, quieter. You cross-check HR leave logs. No consulting trip listed. But her insurance record, yes, you're still checking those, shows a claim for a private maternity clinic. Dated within those same 3 weeks. And now it clicks. She didn't fake a vacation. She faked a business trip to have a child. Quietly. Alone. You close your laptop. You feel like you've opened too many boxes. Like Pandora, but with an Excel password. She walks past your desk minutes later. She sees your screen. She knows. She pauses. Make sure nothing gets lost in migration, she says, almost sweetly. You nod. Because there's no going back now. Not when everything in this office is being recast. Resentment turned into strategy, parenthood turned into liability, affection rewritten as friction. The best secrets, you realize, don't stay buried. They're paraded in plain sight, dressed up as something else. And the real performance isn't the fake fight. It's the silence that follows. There's a new flavor of silence in the office now. Not the usual kind, the "I'm too busy to talk" silence. This one buzzes. It aches. It hums under the fluorescent lights like an untuned violin string. Because now everyone believes there's bad blood between them. And that's exactly what she wants. You watch her move through meetings with deliberate precision. She disagrees with him in public now. Not cruelly but coolly. Calculated rebukes. Gentle eye rolls. Carefully worded feedback that's just sharp enough to wound his pride without drawing HR into it. It's working. People start whispering that they're headed for a professional blow-up. You hear Julie mutter, "I hope one of them quits." It's exhausting. But beneath the surface, you can tell he's unraveling. His ties start getting looser. His smiles don't reach his eyes. One afternoon, you catch him in the hallway with a far-off look, holding a coffee he hasn't touched. You follow his gaze. It's aimed at her. She doesn't notice. Or maybe she does, and chooses not to respond. You find yourself wondering how long they've been like this. Because the kind of tension they carry, it doesn't just happen overnight. It has a history, one that no one's told. So you start listening more, not to what they say, but to what's missing. For example, she never says the child's name, ever, not even once, in any document, message, conversation. Even that visitor badge, just the initials. You dig into archived staff memos and find something curious. Last summer, there was a short email from her to HR. "Please remove my emergency contact from the system temporarily. I'll update when appropriate." You check the prior contact, her sister. Then, a few months later, a new one is entered. It's him. Your boss. Which doesn't make sense. They're supposedly not even friends anymore. Why list him? Unless she needed someone to be listed legally in case something happened. And he was the only one who knew the truth. You remember. In many modern countries, emergency contacts are not just procedural. They can sometimes be used to authorize treatment, collect children, handle sensitive matters. Naming someone as your emergency contact is not just admin. It's trust. Even if that trust is fractured. A mainstream historical fact comes to mind. In 16th century Venice, elite courtesans often used coded wills and decoy guardians to protect illegitimate children. The legal father on record might never have even met the child. Historians still argue whether those arrangements were acts of desperation or clever defiance. You think again about the dependent form you saw weeks ago, the one listing a newborn under her name with no mention of a co-parent. You recheck his HR file. You've done this too many times now. But today something's new. There's a form titled Change in Family Status. Recent. You open it. Your hands shake. He's listed a dependent. Effective immediately. No name. Just an ID code. But it matches the one on her medical form. You nearly fall out of your chair. He's not just aware now. He's claimed the child. Not publicly. Not loudly. Not on Slack where everyone can see. But legally. And yet, in the office, the performance continues. They still argue during meetings. She still corrects him in front of interns. He still pretends to forget her coffee order during group lunches. It's almost artful, like watching two actors in a play only they know the script to. You spot something else. He started staying late again. Not always, but often enough. And he parks near the far lot now. Her lot. One night, you linger in the break room again. Not intentionally. Okay, maybe a little intentionally. You see her walk past, a lunch bag in hand. He follows. They don't talk, but they leave together. You step to the window. Watch them walk across the parking lot. Side by side. Not touching. Not looking at each other. But in sync. And for just a second, you see her hand brush against his jacket. Not a grab. Not a hold. Just a touch. And then gone. A quirky historical tidbit you once read flashes back. In Japanese no theater, performers often use the slightest movements. A blink, a toe shift, to convey massive emotional shifts. Audiences were trained to notice what wasn't said. You're starting to feel like one of those audiences now. Later that week, during an audit prep session, someone asks your boss about his time off. He shrugs. Family stuff, Long overdue. Someone jokes, "What? Did you get a surprise kid?" Everyone laughs. He smiles, says nothing. You glance at her. She's looking straight ahead. But her jaw tightens. Historians still argue whether silence is protection or punishment. You're starting to believe it's both. The next morning you get a delivery. Standard packages for the department. But tucked among them? An envelope. No name. Just the company's address. Typed. You open it. Inside, a single sheet. A photo of the same child. The same little girl. This time she's holding a small stuffed rabbit. And the back? Scrawled in handwriting you recognize now. "We're doing fine." But she keeps asking for her dad. The photo lives in your desk drawer for 3 days. You don't show anyone. You don't mention the envelope. But every time you open that drawer to grab a pen or a sticky note, there she is, small hands gripping that little rabbit. A smile that doesn't know it's been weaponized. And that line on the back, "She keeps asking for her dad," burns itself into your thoughts like a watermark, not quite visible but always there. You start seeing the world differently, like how your boss now checks his phone just a little too often, or how he double taps the same corner of his screen, again and again, as if refreshing something that won't load. You even notice how she avoids the elevators now, almost ritualistically taking the stairs. Maybe it's habit. Maybe it's so she never has to risk being trapped between floors with him. The more you notice, the more the seams show. It's around this time that the company sends out a routine form. "Update your emergency contact info." A normal request. You fill out your form like everyone else. But you catch a glimpse of hers when she hands it in. The name? Blank. The line where his name once appeared is empty. She's erased him again. You wonder if this is strategy or surrender. Later that day, HR posts a list of overdue documents outside the glass meeting room. Her name is on it. One form outstanding, medical dependence verification. Just one more reminder that the system can't forget what she's trying to hide. You wonder how long this can go on. How long two people can pretend not to share something so massive. You remember a historical tidbit about the Habsburgs, how they hid genetic disorders through generations by strategically marrying and controlling records. Entire illnesses erased through paperwork. Historians still argue whether that was protective or cruel. She's not protecting the child from him. She's protecting the child from the story. The next day, you get assigned to update a directory file in the employee portal. It's mostly a copy-paste job, until you find a line under your boss's profile. Alternate contact, LR. Initials only, the same ones you saw before. You look at the file's history. The edit was made 3 days ago, the same day you received the second photo. He's not just quietly acknowledging her. He's making space for his daughter. In code. In systems. In the only way this office allows. But then, something strange happens. She starts acting different. Not softer. Not warmer. But lighter. She jokes in meetings again. Only a little. But enough for people to glance at each other, puzzled. She sends a GIF in Slack. A cat typing furiously. Someone comments, "Wow, did someone switch bodies with her last name?" She replies, "Or maybe I've been here all along." You don't miss the double meaning. You also notice she starts staying late again. Not just alone. You check the sign-in logs. On 3 nights, they left within 5 minutes of each other. One night, simultaneously. The performance isn't over. But it's shifting. Like the stage is being dismantled quietly. And then comes the emergency contact list again. Another update request. And this time, you see her name. Emergency contact. His full name is back. But now it's deliberate. Not a leftover. A choice. You're still processing this when a company-wide calendar invite drops. Quarterly recognition banquet, family welcome night. Cue panic. And poorly veiled excuses. But your eyes go to one name, hers. She accepts the invite. And below that, the guest count, +1. The day of the banquet, you almost don't go. But curiosity wins. The event's held in the conference hall, transformed with string lights, awkward centerpieces, and a dessert table no one wants to approach first. You scan the room. You see her. She's wearing blue, not office blue. A soft, sky-tinted dress you've never seen before. Her hair's down. And beside her, a little girl, holding that same rabbit. It's the first time you see her in person. She looks like him. And just as you're about to look away, you see him. Not across the room. Not lurking. Right there. Next to them. Not touching. Not posing. But present. Your breath catches. No announcement. No introduction. Just three people standing in proximity. Like a family in stasis. No one else seems to notice. Or maybe they do, and they've chosen the same thing she did. To say nothing. A quirky fact hits you hard. In the 1800s, some families used double portraits to hint at hidden relationships. Paintings where two people appeared together but never touched. The implication was intimacy without exposure. A secret in oil. This right here is their portrait. A quiet table in the corner of a banquet. A rabbit in small hands. A man standing just near enough to be part of the picture. And she smiles. For the first time since all of this began, you see her smile. Not the tight, polite kind she wears in meetings. A real one. The kind you can't fake. Historians still argue whether secrets protect us or trap us. But tonight, you think maybe, just maybe, they can hold us together, too. You expect everything to change after the banquet. But it doesn't. Not on the surface, anyway. They still don't speak much in meetings. They still take different stairwells. She still sits on the left side of the boardroom table, and he still sits on the right. Their emails to each other remain concise, cold, and time-stamped like legal evidence. But now that you've seen the three of them together, the soft dress, the rabbit, the almost smile, it's impossible to unsee the truth beneath their choreography. You begin to understand. This isn't a story about getting caught. It's about choosing when to be visible. Monday rolls around and she's back in black slacks and her no-nonsense blazer. The little girl is nowhere to be seen. Her desk is tidy again. Professional. Impenetrable. But on her monitor, for just a moment, you glimpse a sticky note tucked in the frame. LR, recital Friday 6 p.m. It's handwritten. Not part of her calendar. Not for anyone else's eyes. You feel the weight of it. A hidden life squeezed into the crevices between memos and metrics. That week, the office feels different. Lighter, maybe, or just settled. But then you notice a detail you missed. Her public calendar, yes, the one synced across the team, lists a 3-day trip next week. Client offsite, Las Vegas. You've seen this trick before. But this time, you're not sure who it's meant to fool. You open her previous calendar logs. You find another Vegas trip, listed about 2 years ago. Same vague title. Same dates. Same pattern. But this time, something's different. You're working in the system backend now, part of your learning experience, as an intern. And you notice that the original Vegas trip, it was manually added just a few days after the child's dependent info was entered into the insurance system. And the dates line up. Exactly. That trip wasn't Vegas. It was maternity leave rebranded, disguised, and buried. You feel a chill as you realize how far she went to preserve her privacy. A historical fact tickles your brain. In the early 20th century, elite women in Japan would quietly check into mountain sanatoriums to give birth, hiding their pregnancies from families and society. It was called Satoyama confinement, a retreat cloaked in another purpose. Historians still argue whether it was an act of shame or survival. This feels like both. The more you piece together, the more it makes sense. She didn't just fake a divorce. She orchestrated a complete rewrite of reality, paper by paper, form by form. One that separated her public identity from the truth, brick by meticulous brick. But here's the question you can't shake. Why now? Why let the curtain lift at the banquet? Why bring the child into view? Your answer comes in the form of a calendar reminder on his profile. Childcare prep, Friday p.m. You hover over it. There's no attachment. No notes. Just that. And then another block 1 week later. Leah's weekend. Packed lunch plus change of clothes. Your breath catches. Not her weekend. His happening. Quietly. Carefully. He's becoming part of the picture. Not with a Facebook announcement. Not with a break room celebration. Just a shift in schedules. That same day, she books a half-day. First time in months. The reason listed? Personal time, self. Not a meeting. Not a child. Not an off-site. Just herself. You don't know why, but it makes your eyes sting. You head to the roof during lunch. It's become your thinking spot. High up, slightly windy, and always empty. You stare out at the parking lot below and see his car parked beside hers again. No one else would notice, but you do. That's the moment you realize they're no longer hiding. They're managing. Living in two timelines, one for the office, and one that breathes just beyond the reach of everyone's curious glances. A quirky historical tidbit crosses your mind. The Berlin Philharmonic once held secret rehearsals with a conductor who had fled the Nazis. They called it the hidden music. Never performed publicly, but to those who heard it, it was unforgettable. This family, they're the hidden music of the office. You begin to treat your knowledge like a relic. Precious. Private. You don't tell Julie. You don't mention it in your exit interview. You just make sure to leave behind a digital trail that says nothing, but hints at everything. A few notes. A single, unfiled folder. One day, he catches you near the printer. No one else around. You're leaving soon, right? You nod. One more week. He hesitates. Thanks for being observant. You offer a small smile. Wasn't trying to be. He laughs once. Doesn't matter. You saw what mattered. And then he walks away. That afternoon, you clean out your files. Toss what you can. Archive what's appropriate. But you keep one thing. A printed copy of the photo. The one with the rabbit. You tuck it in a folder marked miscellaneous. Because really, that's what secrets are. Just misfiled truths. It's your final week in the office, and everything feels strangely normal. The copier still jams if you look at it wrong. Someone still microwaves fish at lunchtime, inciting quiet rebellion. Julie's still making predictions about who's dating who based entirely on how people walk to the water cooler. But beneath that normalcy, the undercurrent remains. You keep noticing small things. He no longer avoids the topic of family in casual conversations. During a team huddle, someone jokes about surprise fatherhood. And he doesn't flinch. He doesn't laugh either. He just says, life's full of surprises. People nod, thinking nothing of it. You, on the other hand, feel like someone just opened a window. On Wednesday, she asks you to help scan some archive documents. Routine, mindless, safe. You sit in the back room with a humming scanner and a pile of folders. And then, from the hallway, a voice. Him. Low. Almost hesitant. Do you want to talk about Friday? Her reply is quiet. What's left to say? A pause. I meant, after Friday. You stop scanning. There's a silence long enough to fill the room. Then the sound of retreating footsteps. You look down at the folder in your hands. Its label? Q2 Planning, redundant. You flip it open. Inside is a post-it note stuck to the top page. 2 words, written in her handwriting. No witnesses. You stare at it. It's a joke. Or maybe it isn't. You realize something then, that the office has become more than a place for her. It's a container. One where secrets are measured, labeled, and filed under safe names. And she's not the only one doing it. Because then he starts changing, too. You notice his desktop photo is gone, replaced with the company logo. His workstation grows cleaner. No knickknacks. No coffee mug from World's Okayest Manager. Minimalism with intent. He's preparing to disappear. A quirky tidbit you remember from some random podcast. Some World War II spies were trained to leave no personal objects behind. Not because they feared being caught, but because they feared being remembered. You think about that. That same day, he skips the team stand-up. First time in weeks. You check the internal calendar. Nothing. Then, an hour later, the company-wide alert goes out. Please join us in wishing his name all the best in his next chapter. That's it. No warning. No farewell party. No speech. Just a digital curtain drop. People whisper. Did he quit? Was he let go? Maybe it's burnout. You know the truth. He didn't vanish. He withdrew. Gently, silently, with just enough grace to preserve the fiction. You pass her desk. She's typing as usual, focused, poised. But her badge, usually clipped at the shoulder, is missing. You glance toward her drawer. It's slightly open, and inside you spot two things: a folded sonogram, a small rabbit keychain. You blink back the sharpness behind your eyes. Later that day, during lunch, the IT guy, the one who knows too much, sits beside you. You heard about your manager? You nod. Yeah. He smirks. It's weird, right? The guy leaves without even cleaning out his desk. You glance at the now empty corner office. The only thing left is a half-used notepad. But then the IT guy leans in. You know what else? His last login was last night, 11:48 p.m. You blink. Why? He shrugs. No clue. Just pulled a few archived files. Cleaned out a folder labeled _reflections. Thought it was code for a vendor or something. You hold your breath. And it's gone. Yeah. Wiped clean. Deleted. Encrypted. Purged. Like he never touched it. You exhale. Not because he's hiding something. Because he's protecting it. A historical example strikes you hard. In 1945, a librarian in Warsaw saved a list of banned authors by memorizing every title, then burning the record. Historians still debate whether her act was preservation or self-erasure. Maybe both. You check the cloud folder one last time that evening. The one labeled Shared Initiatives, they both once edited regularly, is now locked. Access restricted. You look around. She's already gone for the day. But you spot one last thing before you log off. Your calendar, set to expire in 3 days, now includes a final invite. Meeting title, Thank You, from her. Location, Quiet Room A. Time, Friday, 5:30 p.m. No one else is invited. Friday comes faster than expected. You wear something slightly nicer. Silly, really, but it feels like the end of a story deserves respect. At 5:25, you walk to Quiet Room A. She's already inside. She doesn't stand when you enter, just nods. Close the door, please. You do. Then she slides a folder across the table. Inside, a blank reference letter template. A post-it. Fill in what's true. I'll sign it. You look up. Why? Her voice is calm. Because you stayed quiet. You want to ask a dozen things. But you only manage one. Will he stay in touch? She looks away for a long moment. Then, when it matters, he knows where we are. The we lingers. You leave the room 5 minutes later, the folder tucked under your arm, and a sense that somehow, despite the silence, despite the fiction, the story told itself anyway. It's your last official day. The building hums with end-of-week energy, half excited, half exhausted. People are already mentally on the weekend, chatting about dinner plans or pretending to work through spreadsheets they'll never send. You pack your desk slowly. A few sticky notes. That weird stress ball shaped like a garlic bulb. Your badge, coiled like a final period to a sentence no one finished reading. At noon, she stops by. Doesn't say much. Just places a small brown envelope on your keyboard and says, "Wait until you're home," and walks off. Inside, you already know, is the thing no one ever talks about. Quiet acknowledgement. A way of saying you saw it without ever saying what it was. But before you go, one last errand. You've been asked to tidy up some paper files from the copy room, final intern chore. It's dusty, full of outdated org charts and forgotten memos about flu season. Then you spot a folder labeled, "Do not file." You hesitate. Rules are rules. But that label might as well say, "Read me." You flip it open. Inside, a single photo. The boss, holding a newborn wrapped in soft yellow fabric. No hospital backdrop. Just a corner of a room, dim light, eyes full of a kind of stunned peace. There's a page clipped behind it. A DNA test. 2 names. Her name, his name, and a positive match. Your heart thumps like it did on that very first night, when you overheard whispers in the break room you had no business hearing. You don't scan it. You don't take a photo. You simply fold the folder shut again and slide it back where you found it. Because by now, you understand, the power in this story isn't in revealing it. It's in choosing what gets protected. You remember a quirky historical footnote. In the early 1900s, a woman named Ann Cooper Hewitt sued her mother for secretly having her sterilized to protect the family fortune. The case drew scandal and public sympathy, but the mother's motivation was never clarified. Some called her cruel. Others called her strategic. Historians still argue whether it was family preservation or control. This folder is not cruelty. It's the architecture of survival. You take the long way back to your desk, past the hallway where she and your boss used to meet eyes without blinking, where their silences used to be louder than your coworkers' gossip. Now both are quiet. He's gone. She remains. And somewhere between them, a child grows up quietly knowing more than she's allowed to say. You get home that night, envelope in hand. You open it. Inside is a handwritten note. 3 short lines. You ask the right questions. You never demanded the answers. That's rare. There's no signature. Just the initials, LR. You smile. Because she's not thanking you for staying out of it. She's thanking you for understanding that some stories tell themselves better between the lines. Later that week, you hear that she's been reassigned. Same company, new office. A quieter branch. Less travel. More flexibility. As the announcement put it, no one connects the dots. Just a few shoulder shrugs. A good for her. You know better. It's not retreat. It's reclamation. A mainstream historical fact comes to mind. When Eleanor Roosevelt first entered the White House, she held press conferences exclusively for women reporters. A bold move that rewrote who got to ask questions and who got to answer. Quietly radical. Infuriatingly smart. That's what she's doing now. Not hiding. Controlling the lens. Months later, an email lands in your inbox. No subject line. No message body. Just an attachment. A scanned drawing in crayon. A rabbit. And 3 stick figures. One with long hair. One with short hair. And one small one right in the middle. You close the file. Back it up twice. And whisper to yourself, she's okay. You think you're out of it. You've moved on, new city, new job, new login credentials. Your desktop wallpaper is a different skyline now. No rabbit drawings, no dusty filing rooms, no suspicious sonograms hidden under quarterly reports. But sometimes the past taps you on the shoulder. And sometimes it sends you a calendar invite. It's from your old HR system, some automated renewal prompt that never got deleted. The title, Annual Contact Verification. Your heart skips. You click it open out of habit. Buried in the attached spreadsheet, you find her name. She's still listed as active. But the contact now? Next of kin LR. No co-parent. No backup. Just those 2 initials. She's not pretending anymore. She's owning the story. You close the file, sit back, and start remembering all the little things again. The whispered argument in the break room. The photo labeled Daddy. The faux fight in front of the whole department. The black folder. The envelope. The child. And through it all, the silence. But now that silence feels different. Less like erasure. More like a decision. You open your inbox and, with a strange compulsion, search her name. One result pops up. A company-wide announcement from a sister branch. Please welcome our new team lead, Ms. Her last name, to the Wellness Innovation Department. It's dated last month. The announcement includes a short blurb. Her first name brings both analytical precision and deep empathy to the team. She's passionate about holistic workplace development and maintaining sustainable career-family integration models. You nearly laugh, not because it's funny, but because it's perfect. She turned her secret into strategy, her silence into a specialty. You glance down and notice something else. The sender of that email? Your former boss's name at wellnessdivision.com. There it is. They didn't vanish. They just moved the story. A quirky historical footnote pops into your head. During World War II, women in code-breaking units used knitting to embed information, stitching and unraveling secret data into scarves that crossed entire borders. No one noticed, but everything was preserved. She stitched her life back together, thread by quiet thread. And it's holding. You scroll down the announcement and spot a small image. The company's new family policy pamphlet. The cover? A minimalist illustration of a rabbit. You sit back, a lump in your throat you didn't expect. She didn't burn the evidence. She rewrote the narrative. And now she's handing it to others. Friday evening, your phone buzzes. A text from a number you don't recognize. No name, just a message. She brought the rabbit to the board meeting. Thought you'd like that. You stare. Then respond. Still asking for her dad? This time, the reply comes instantly. Not anymore. Now she asks where he is. And he always shows up. You close your eyes. Somewhere out there, they're still navigating this strange life between performance reviews and preschool pickups. Not as a scandal, but as something real, something earned. Historians still argue whether a legacy is what you leave behind or what you teach someone else to carry forward. You think about her daughter, Alar, and you know which side you believe. You don't expect to hear from them again. That last text felt like the natural end. A soft epilogue. Closure written in rabbit-shaped metaphors and after-hours board meetings. But the truth is, some stories have ripples, not endings. 3 months pass. You're scrolling through a wellness industry newsletter, half out of boredom, half from habit. The headlines blur: employee burnout, work-life balance, mindful email practices. Then one catches your eye. Integrating hidden family structures into workplace policy. You click it. It's a guest op-ed. Anonymous. Short, but razor-sharp. A few standout lines. Sometimes, the healthiest decision isn't disclosure, it's design. There are stories that don't belong on HR forms, but they still shape lives. The safest employees are often the ones who've learned to perform peace. You read it 3 times. You know that voice. Even cloaked in polished phrasing and generalities. It's her. And this piece, it's not a confession. It's a framework. A playbook for people like her. People who must juggle private truths and public performance. All without dropping either. You forward it to yourself, save it as PDF, and title the file, Unspoken Blueprints, PDF. Later that night, you reread the old notes you kept. The first photo, the hidden folder, the sonogram, the backdated divorce, every breadcrumb. And then you remember something you never followed up on. The IT guy, the one who showed you footage, who mentioned the folder called _reflections. You dig through your contacts and send a casual message. Still poking around back doors? Or did you switch to front entrances only? A winky face, casual enough. His reply comes 10 minutes later. Still have keys, but I don't go into that wing anymore. They locked it. Then, another message. But if you ever need to know where the rabbit ended up, I've got one last breadcrumb. Your heart skips. You ask for it. He sends a photo. It's grainy, surveillance still from a community center entrance. She's holding her daughter's hand. The child's wearing a backpack with bunny ears. He's walking next to them, holding the door. It's not a dramatic moment, just ordinary. But you know what it means. They've stopped hiding. Not because they made a big reveal, but because they no longer need to construct absence. They've found a way to exist in full view without spectacle. A mainstream historical fact echoes through your thoughts. In post-war Germany, stunned null, 0 hour, marked the symbolic starting point of rebuilding after devastation. Not with headlines, but with quiet, necessary acts of reconstruction. That's what this is. Their 0 hour. You sit with the image a long time. It doesn't make you cry. It doesn't make you gasp. But it settles in your chest like a stone, solid grounding. You think about that folder marked, do not file. You think maybe she meant, not yet. Or maybe, file it where you'll remember it but no one else will. That's what you've done. Your memories of that office, of them, of her, none of it's gone. It's just been moved. Filed under experience. Labeled. Don't delete. You start to write again. Just a little. A journal entry, maybe. A short story. A fictionalized version of what happened. The narrator is someone like you. Wide-eyed, nosy, maybe too quiet to be trusted, maybe too observant to be dismissed. The characters? Carefully unnamed. The theme? Secrets you can't shred. A quirky tidbit pops into your mind while you're typing. In 18th century England, anonymous letters were often sent using lemon juice as invisible ink, only revealed when heated over a flame. The messages weren't meant to stay hidden forever, just long enough for the right eyes. This story was like that, and maybe you were the flame. Life moves forward as it always does. You get a promotion, new co-workers, a better chair that doesn't squeak. Some days you forget the whole story, her, him, the child, the fake divorce. It feels like a novel you once read on a long train ride. But every now and then something small brings it back. Like this morning. You're at a leadership seminar, mandatory, soul-sucking, with dry pastries and lukewarm coffee. The speaker is droning about the balance between authenticity and boundaries in corporate culture. You're barely listening until the moderator pulls up a slide. Case study, resilience in high-stakes roles, anonymous leader from KLC Wellness Group. Your body tenses. The bullet points appear. Rebuilt career post-personal transition. A created flexible family policy architecture. A maintained role during legal complexities. Prioritized quiet dignity over disclosure. You don't even need a name, sir. You glance around the room. No one else reacts. To them, it's just theory. To you, it's a face, a story, a secret that pulsed under fluorescent lights and copier noise for months. Later, during break, someone comments, "Wish we had leaders like that. Must have been hell." You nod, quietly. Probably was. But you know it wasn't just hell. It was craft. It was armor. And it was a kind of radical, private motherhood, a version no one trains you for. You head outside, lean against the wall, and take a long breath. A historical footnote surfaces. During the Harlem Renaissance, Black women writers often masked autobiographical pain in fiction, not to deceive, but to protect their peace. Historians still debate whether this created distance from truth or just told it slant. You understand that now. She wasn't hiding. She was framing. When you get home that night, there's a message in your inbox. No name, no subject, just a short line. She's starting kindergarten Monday. Attached is a photo. The little girl in a tiny blue blazer, standing in front of a cubby with her name, Leah. Her hand is in his. She's smiling, bunny ears clipped to her backpack. And behind them, her, wearing no armor this time, just a soft gray sweater, a hand on Leah's shoulder. Not in the shadows, in the frame. You close the laptop and sit in stillness. This isn't a victory lap. This is what healing looks like when it wears work shoes and arrives 15 minutes early to daycare pickup. This is family that chose to be unfiled until the moment was safe. Historians still argue whether legacy is built through great acts or small, defiant choices. But you know better now. It's built here, in locked drawers, in whispered truths, in rabbit keychains and backdated documents and forged divorces that were never really about leaving, but about protecting a story too fragile to be told before it could stand on its own. And now, it can. You walk to your bookshelf and slide a worn folder into a fireproof box you've kept in the back. Label it, for later. The last time you hear from her, it's not a letter, not a text, not even a forwarded email hiding behind corporate syntax. It's a postcard. Simple, cream-colored, no return address, just the image of a seaside horizon, gray waves, one small boat, and a strip of coastline so faint it looks imagined. On the back, a sentence in looping ink. Somewhere between quiet and chaos, we found us. No signature, no initials, but you know who it's from. You hold the card for a long time, thumb grazing its edges. It feels like the final line in a book that didn't need a sequel. A story that didn't ask for your permission, but left you changed anyway. You set the postcard beside your keyboard and let the silence bloom. Everything's still here. The folders in your head. The memory of her standing in the break room with eyes like storm clouds. The child's drawing. His late-night sign-offs. The DNA test no one ever admitted existed. And yet, it doesn't ache. Not now. Because the story stopped being yours to carry the moment they chose to carry it themselves. You scroll back through your photos, through grainy screenshots and old notes. So many moments where truth and fiction folded over each other like warm laundry. Clean, but wrinkled with history. A quirky historical footnote surfaces, gentle this time. Ancient Chinese painters would often leave one corner of the canvas blank. A space for the unseen. A deliberate omission because not every part of the landscape needed to be revealed. She left that corner blank, too, and you filled it in your own way. The new job is going fine. No strange envelopes. No whispered hallway arguments. Just meetings about logistics, performance metrics, and whether there's almond milk in the fridge. But part of you still notices things others miss. The slightly mismatched timestamps in HR forms. The casual phrasing in out-of-office replies. The stories hiding under spreadsheets, waiting for someone patient enough to hear the silence. You don't go digging, though. Not anymore. Because you've learned something. Secrets aren't always about lies. Sometimes they're about timing. Sometimes they're about love. And sometimes they're about survival dressed in slacks and confidence. Historians still argue whether the quietest chapters are the ones that matter most. But here now you know they are. So you place the postcard gently in a drawer. The same drawer that holds the rabbit drawing, the unsigned letter, the screenshot of her guest op-ed. No label this time. Just a space. Just air. You lean back, close your eyes, and whisper, "Safe travels, little family." Then you turn off the light and leave the story right where it belongs. So now, if you're still with me, take a deep breath. Let it out slowly. You've just walked through a story wrapped in whispers and sharp glances and hallway silences that meant more than entire speeches. You followed a thread that wound its way through copy rooms and fake Vegas trips, through missed glances and almost confessions and a small rabbit that meant more than any file could say. And through all of it, you were there. You saw her choices. You felt his silence. You understood what it meant to live between two truths, what was shown and what was protected. That's the thing about secrets in offices. They don't always explode. Sometimes they just settle, like dust on a forgotten shelf, like a child's drawing taped behind a monitor, like a folder labeled "Do Not File" that's been read exactly once, then never again. Tonight, let those memories soften. Let them fade gently, not in erasure, but in reverence. The way waves pull sand from your footprints. You don't have to hold their story anymore. They've taken it back. And you're free to rest now. So close your eyes. The fan is humming. The lights are low. The story has told itself. And the office is finally quiet. End of script. Sweet dreams.